before the weekend as I head yet onto another plane after being in Los Angeles and San Francisco and D.C. and New York and Philly and Chicago all last week. I'm headed to Dallas this weekend. And, we start to talk about the first place Baltimore Ravens and maybe winning a division and who would they see. And certainly the AFC West looks to be loaded. We're going to go out to Kansas City, one of my favorite towns out in the Midwest. This guy's done sports radio and sports on television for 40-some-odd years. He's from Pittsburgh, but we don't hold that against him around here because he did escape. He's at Action 41 News out in Kansas City, as well as Sports Radio WHB 810. Some of our friends out there, and Jeff Montgomery and Brian McCray and many, many others. We welcome Frank Bowl back on to Baltimore Radio. Frank, how's it going out there? Pretty good Kansas City Chiefs team right now, and in a sticky race out there. We're used to those three-team races in the AFC North. You got one going on in the West right now, right?
Yeah, really do, and all three of them could end up in the playoffs if everything sort of falls right, because everybody else is sort of staggering around for those wild card spots. Their records aren't very good, but the three teams here are doing pretty good right now. Now anything can shake out because they're all gonna play each other here. The Chiefs have Denver still twice. They still have Oakland, and they still have San Diego as well. So it's going to be an interesting race down to the wire. But right now, I have no idea how the Chiefs are doing it. They're 7-2. They haven't scored a touchdown since the first quarter of the Jacksonville game 2 weeks ago. So, an offensive touchdown, I should put it that way. So their offense has been staggering around. Alex Smith got hurt. Of course, Nick Foles came in. When he came in, he's won 2 games for the Chiefs, but the offense still hasn't produced and still hasn't played that well. Last week it was all defense, and you just can't. Nestor knows as well as I. You just can't do that. You just can't keep pushing the burden onto the defense and expecting to win football games, especially now that they're going to start to get ramped up with their competition.
Well, this one's a big one because they are going to have to go out and play Denver. They are going to have to go to Atlanta. They do have the right. The next couple are a gauntlet. This is the easiest of what they're going to be asked to do over the next month. Not to say Jameis Winston's easy, but this is a game they got to win.
Oh, they've got to win this game against Tampa at home. And from that point on, then you've got, we're the NBC affiliate here. We have them on, they're on 3 nationally televised games, Thursday Night Football. They were at the Denver game on Sunday night, the 27th, Thanksgiving weekend. December 8th, they play Thursday Night Football against Oakland at Arrowhead. And then on Christmas night, they play Denver back out here at Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football.
Now, that'll be a tailgate now. Christmas night at Arrowhead.
Oh,
man, that place will be lit up.
That place, how everybody loves to go to the movies on Christmas night. Not in this town. They'll all be out there whether they can get in the stadium or not.
Look, man, I know you're from Pittsburgh, and it's an easy place to leave, and you've been at Kansas City a long time. I tell people all the time when I go to Kansas City, and I tell Brian McCray, Jeff Montgomery, all the guys that I know out there, even Rex Hudler's, the California boy's been out there having himself a good time. That's a hell of a place, Kansas City, and I think the baseball team's success in the recent years, and we were out there, we got our butts kicked in the ALCS fair and square a couple years ago, and they went on to win a championship the following year after Bumgarner beat it, but to see that city light up from a sports perspective outside of Rock Chalk, that's just a good. You've made a life out there, and it doesn't seem to be a bad place to be, quite frankly.
No, it really hasn't. I've been here since 1981. I've had several opportunities to leave, and just I'd never done. I've got family. All my kids are here. My grandkids are here. Everybody's still here, so they've all settled here. It is a great place. People are great, friendly, giving, nice, charitable. We don't have any traffic jams around this place. It's just one of those cities. I mean, people call it flyover, and that's just fine with us. But recently, you're right. As far as athletics are concerned, Royals have really gotten back on it after being one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball for a long period of time.
We're familiar with that here, Frank. I'm in Baltimore. We're familiar with being awful. Trust me.
I was just there 2 years ago. Relax, will you? Okay, you guys were doing okay until the Royals took care of you in 15. So that was an interesting situation. But yeah, the town's really lit up right now. Royals didn't do it this year, didn't get there. So everybody now has pushed all the cards in the middle of the table with the Chiefs. And they've got a chance. They're the number 2 seed right now in the AFC. A lot of that stuff can change, but that really puts the pressure on them because they really don't play that well away from home. especially look what happened to them in Pittsburgh. I mean, they got absolutely destroyed on that Sunday night. So what they'd really like to do is become the number one seed and have everything in the AFC go through Arrowhead. That way they'd have a chance. They haven't been to the Super Bowl since '69. I mean, come on.
Well, Len Dawson, got it done back in the day as well. Hey,
oh, yeah.
For Andy Reid to come in there, I've always been an Andy Reid fan. Just a very decent man, and every time I've ever been in his company, it's been pleasurable. He's a friend of my partner Brian Billick as well through that channel. But quietly, that guy's won a hell of a lot of football games, and I know you went through that with Schottenheimer and didn't get there, and obviously Vermeil as well. I mean, there's been a long tradition of some classy coaches out there, led by Lamar Hunt, the legacy that he left behind. But, Andy Reid, got summarily dismissed out in Philadelphia and has really turned the program around out there in Kansas City.
Yeah, he's really turned the culture on because, they went from Marty in that group, and then they went through Herm Edwards, Romeo Cornell. I mean, it just got to be sort of a bad situation. They sort of slide downhill. The organization wasn't organized. They weren't drafting very well. And so they decided to turn over to a guy who had a proven track record. Remember, Andy spent 14 years in Philly. I mean, even he said, you know what, it's too long. I was there too long.
In dog years, that's 100, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. In Philly, it's 200.
I spent 3 hours in Philly on Sunday morning. It was horrific, And I told Flacco about it too. Trust me, I did.
Yeah, I know it's brutal, but he's here. He and John Dorsey are really putting things together, and especially from a depth standpoint. You talk about Andy being able to coach and his coaching staff, but John Dorsey has really added some depth to this team. They've had so many injuries this year. I mean, they've got guys rotating in and out from, running back, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line, linebackers, everybody that have had so many guys running in a lineup that it's been a really, really difficult situation for them. But they've managed to win 7 football games out of 9. And they're just, sometimes you think they're doing it with smoke and mirrors, but they're just getting it done. But now the schedule really starts to tighten up, and they're really going to run into some tough opposition here. We'll see how it goes.
If my dear friend John Stedman were alive, he would call Frank Bowl a young old-timer. You can find him out on Twitter at Real Frank Bowl. That's BOAL at 41 Action News, as well as Sports Radio 810 WHB out in Kansas City. You played the game at a high level back in your era at Villanova, and you've been out there in Kansas City for a long time and seen some good quarterback play and certainly some forgettable play. Boy, as much as you say Andy Reid is underappreciated, I mean, Alex Smith is number 1 overall pick, and my dear pal Mike Nolan, lived and died with him out there in San Francisco, and of course he found the side of the bench the Kaepernick year, the year that Harbaugh came out there, and the Ravens won the Super Bowl by a play, a foot, an inch, whatever it was on those 4 plays at the goal line. But Alex Smith's been in Kansas City, and he's underappreciated. Sell me on Alex Smith as a guy that could win a Super Bowl in Kansas City. Can you do that?
I can't.
You can't? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody would like to run him out of town. The problem is there's no one else. I mean, they have Nick Foles sitting there, but all you do is look at the back of his football card, and he's going to tell you one good year in Philly. He just had that one good year, and he knows him. That good year was under Chip Kelly, not Andy Reid, and it was a Pro Bowl year for him. But Alex is just, he's a game manager. He doesn't turn the ball over, but he really doesn't take any chances. They never come up with a dynamic play when you want them to. And as far as trying to come back and win a football game, if you're down, 6 points or 3 points or 4 points in the final 2 minutes, nobody has any trust that he's going to be able to get that done. And I think that's the biggest knock on him. He'll manage it. He's going to get you there, but he's going to be just good enough to break your heart. And I think that's part of the knock on him. They really haven't had a young quarterback that they've developed in this town since Len Dawson. A guy that has really remember when they were good under Marty, they had Steve DeBerg, who wasn't, born and bred here as a Chief. They had Joe Montana, who obviously was a San Francisco 49er. Running backs, they had to go get Marcus Allen off the Oakland Raiders when they were running that situation, and that's been the biggest knock on the franchise. They have not developed their own quarterback, and that has been a real knock on.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I've been out there for a handful of football games, and I always love coming to Arrowhead. I love coming to Kansas City. I love eating a barbecue and going over to Stroud's and getting some fried chicken. I mean, I run around. I gain weight when I'm in Kansas City. I mean, I'm out at Jack Stack, and it's a hell of a thing. And if you love me, you would send me some Jack Stack right now, some of that cheesy corn and some of those beans with the pork in it, the whole deal.
Oh, yeah.
But I was out there the day that they booed Matt Castle, the fire Scott Pioli sign flying overhead, Eric Winston,
Sure.
Admonishing the fans. I was in the locker room that day in Kansas City when all hell broke loose. That was sort of the uglier side of it all, right? And then the frustration of them not winning in the quarterback and not being in the Super Bowl since 1969.
Oh, absolutely. That is the total frustration with the fan base. I mean, and see, the thing that has really put the pressure on them are the Kansas City Royals. Here they were the laughing stock of Major League Baseball, 2009, 2010. They're losing 100 games a year. Everybody's going, oh, this franchise is terrible. All of a sudden, they start to turn it around. In 14, they turn around. They have a winning record, 13-14. Then they go to the World Series in 14. They go to the World Series. They lose. They're 90 feet away against San Francisco when Bumgarner shut them down. So they lose that in 7 games. They wear the chip on their shoulder in 2015. They win the championship then. And this year they sort of fell apart. They're just tired. I mean, after 2 years of runs to the World Series, they just sort of fell apart at the end of the season and just didn't have it. But that pressure of that American League Championship 2 years in a row and then the World Championship last season, that has really put the focus on the Chiefs and go, okay, your turn. What are you going to do?
Frank Bowl has done sports for years and years, many years, 3 decades plus in Kansas City and the Missouri and the Kansas side. And Rock Chalk, he's at Real Frank Bowl. You can follow him out on Twitter as well. By the way, what freeway did you park on for the parade last year? That was the damnedest thing I've ever seen,
I know. I got down there at 7 a.m. in the morning because we were going to do live when the parade started. And we got there at 7 a.m. and it was already both sides of the street were already lined. It was unbelievable. There were people parking, leaving their cars on the freeway and walking into the parade. It was unbelievable.
By the way, last thing for you, Rock Chalk, Maryland has gotten off to this interesting start this year where they beat Georgetown. They're behind the whole game the other night. And, Maryland had a good year last year. Kansas is sort of always there. But I find it fascinating that the way the schedules are done, that Kansas takes a season start against Indiana and Duke. I mean, you're bound to lose one of those, and they did to Indiana and Crean on Friday night as well. But, really a hell of a way to kick off the season for Rock Chalk, right?
Yeah, and I think for college basketball in general, just to get it kicked off like that. They have a game in Hawaii against Indiana. They lose that thing, and then they turn around. They flew all the way from Honolulu to New York City. Okay, they turned around a couple of days later and they had to play Duke last night or the other night. And it was just one of those situations for them that they really got to a situation here, Nestor, that if you're looking at those 2 games, if they lose those 2 games, they have Kentucky at Kentucky later this year. Then you push all the way through to March. And even if they walk through the Big 12, which they're going to do, they're going to win their 13th straight championship and get into the NCAA tournament. If you'd lost those 3 games, there's a real possibility you would not be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. And that was a real possibility for them because if they lose to Duke at Madison Square Garden, then they lose to Kentucky. That's 0 for 3 against those, really high-profile basketball programs. You have a real shot at not being a number 1 seed. Now, I think they can breathe easier. Even if they lose at Kentucky, it's a close, good game. I don't think that will knock them off the 1 line. So.
Self almost has to take those games, right? Because he can't, unlike in the Big Ten or unlike in the ACC, he's just not going to see teams of that caliber in that conference. And I mean, it's almost a shame, quite frankly. But the balance of power is what it is, right?
Oh yeah, and the Big 12 is terrible. I mean, everybody says, well, they were number 1 power conference. Come on, my good God, when was the last time any team won 13 straight conference championships was UCLA under John Wooden way back in the day.
He was pretty good.
Carolina and Duke don't win 13 or 10 or 5 straight championships in that conference, okay? Nobody in the Big Ten wins that many in a row. Nobody in the Big East wins those types of deals. It's terrible. They're going to go 16-2. They're going to lose 2 games, and I couldn't tell you who they're going to lose to, but they're bound to lose 2, right? So they're going to go 16-2 in the round robin in the Big 12. They're going to win their 13 straight. The big deal is, are they going to get to the Final Four? When are they going to win their next national championship? That's what their fans are clamoring for right now. They haven't won since 2008. So their fans are all over them at the moment. It's Final Four bust one more time. They're sick of, they love the fact they're going to win 13 straight. They're sick of the fact that they haven't won a national title for a while.
Frank Bowl joining us here from Kansas City. He has promised me cheesy corn and beans and pork tips from Jack's Steak. Hey, it's great having you on, man. Happy holidays. Enjoy the pumpkin pie out there, and do some eating for me next time you're over there at Country Club Plaza. All right?
Hey, next time you're out here, get a hold of me. I'll take you to all those places. We'll have a good time.
Oh, we'll fill it up, man. I appreciate it, Frank. Thanks a lot. Save some room for the cornbread.
Anytime, buddy.
Frank Bowl, longtime voice of Kansas City sports, joining us from Kansas City, 41 Action News, as well as Sports Radio 810 WHB. We love those guys out there as well at 810WHB.com. And real Frank Bowl, good man out in the friendly heart of the Midwest, even though he's from Pittsburgh. I didn't even beat him up about the Steelers or the Pirates or any of that good stuff. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox every morning at 7 a.m. It's free. It's brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. And if you're looking for a little inspiration above and beyond our last 10 days of running around with the man who saved my wife's life, you can find it at Planet of Triumphs. That's a great website to get in shape for the holidays. Can't be, buying the kind of eggnog I'm buying and trying to find the pumpkin spice and the pumpkin pie that I find here in this seasonal holiday of Yuletide cheer and Thanksgiving, and we are very thankful. You get to Planet Fitness, get yourself on a treadmill, get in shape. There's one right around the corner from you. Lots of trainers around there to treat you right. We always treat you right on the WNST tech service. There's never any spam or garbage. Just breaking news comes directly to your phone. You can trust us with your text number. You can do that at WNST.net. Sign up. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday, bringing it all to you and driving you home from 3 until 5, as he does every Thursday with the SSV on WNST. Nasty at WNST.net is my email. I'm a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.